Check the Mic, NFL college football. He's had the NFL podcast of the year. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me as always.
Yeah, we appreciate you. So do y'all don't have boiled peanuts up there, do you, in the Midwest?
No, we do not. Not that I know of, at least.
Okay, I didn't think so. I thought that was kind of a cutoff, maybe around Tennessee. And for our listeners, Steve Palazzolo's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Or are you in Cincinnati, Ohio right now?
Yeah, via Boston. So like Cincinnati's like the South for me, even though it's the Midwest, you know? Because I'm right on the border with Kentucky. I basically moved to the South, you know, relative to Boston.
That's pretty good. Okay. Do you want to hit any college football, or do you just want to go? I can go with, or we can go straight into NFL.
I can touch on some.
Okay.
Depends on what you got.
Well, I was thinking about like who the best quarterback's going to be in the SEC this year. Do you know much about John Mateer? Because he transferred from Washington State to Oklahoma, and I know it's early. We're still trying to figure everything out. We want all the answers. You know the drill. You're in the business, and we, things just have to kind of work themselves out. But we were talking about Mateer and Lenore Sellers and some of the other guys. Well, Garrett Nussmeier, he played well against Clemson. So when you look at our SEC QBs, like who are you high on right now in 2025?
Yeah, it's a great question. I saw Lenore Sellers in person a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's right.
So I was down there. Yeah. I mean, he's special as a runner, and I know I hate leading with that because there's still a lot more that Sellers needs to do as just a thrower. Timing in the passing game, accuracy. He has hit a couple really nice downfield throws even early this year, but Sellers is special as a runner. He is unbelievable with his quickness, power, speed. He broke free from a couple sacks when I was there in person, which were just unbelievable. So I think Sellers has that. So you hope that the pass game comes together for him. I really like Garrett Nussmeier. There's still a few plays here and there every game where I think you want him to clean it up, but he plays differently. The anticipation that he has, I think he's very accurate. I think he maneuvers the pocket extremely well, so he avoids sacks, but in a different way, just by getting rid of the ball and knowing where to go with the football. And then I think John Mateer got a lot of hype coming into the year because I think people put two and two together and saw a guy that he runs well, has a really good arm. He's got that low arm slot, sidearm release, and then this whole Cam Ward type of path, coming from Washington State and trying to elevate a big time program like Oklahoma. So I think Mateer, he reminds me. In my notes, I wrote that it's like what if you asked your slot receiver to play quarterback, because he's just like shifty and lowers his head and picks up extra yards on the ground, but he also can zip it all over the place. So I'm interested in Mateer's development. I think he's got to clean up just some traditional quarterback things, going through reads, accuracy on the backside, different things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of potential from Mateer, and I think NFL scouts are absolutely noticing his strong start for the Sooners.
Okay. So we got some good ones in the league, and some others will emerge as the season goes on. Steve Palazzolo on the Out of Bounds show. Did you happen to be up somewhat late Saturday night and see what Mississippi State did to Arizona State?
I saw the final. I mean, I had the quad box going. I didn't know if you knew this, but I interviewed for Michigan State's general manager job this offseason. So I was almost a front office executive in college this year. But
wow.
I was watching a little Michigan. Yeah. So, and I do some consulting at the college side for the portal. So I was watching Michigan State BC. I was watching the Virginia Tech Vandy game, and I had Mississippi State Arizona State on the quad box. It was impressive, man. I think they've added a ton, this offseason in the portal, and it doesn't always, it's difficult to get it to all mesh early on when you just add a bunch of talent. But I think Mississippi State's looked much better. And I think Arizona State was probably slightly overrated just because they won a ton of close games last year. Yeah. And it was great, great college football game and great finish.
I mean, what a way to win it. The goal line stand, and then you throw to Brennan Thompson. They got a little speedster, Steve, from transferred in from Oklahoma. And the dude was running wide open, and Blake Shapen hits him. I was there, and nothing really good has happened to the program since Mike Leach died, and so they needed that, that juice, if you will. So I didn't know if you had it on. I'm glad you had it on one of your screens. All right, let's go to Cowboys and Giants. Week 2, it's almost a must-win because you're starting the season with back-to-back division games. You had a chance to win last week. You didn't this week. You're hosting the Giants. Do you see Dallas bouncing back in this one?
I do. I mean, I think I was pretty impressed with how well they played against the Eagles the other night. You're a couple drops away from maybe even pulling the upset. I thought they ran the ball a little bit better than I had thought. Dak played a really nice game. The defense, I thought, struggled early for Dallas, but then got a little bit better down the stretch and at least kept them in it, gave them a chance to come back and make that win, to get the win. Gave them an opportunity for the comeback, I should say. So, the Giants looked pretty bad against the Commanders last week. I thought the Giants, and I'm not writing them off completely, but I thought their defensive line would have a little bit more of an impact. Just like we saw last night. I mean, the Packers defensive line with a guy named Micah Parsons over there. I mean, just unbelievable the way he's been able to elevate that entire defense and get that entire defensive line playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So I thought the Giants, and they might have that ability as Abdul Carter gets comfortable with Kayvon Thibodeau, with Brian Burns, with Dexter Lawrence. So that would be the scare. Every week, when you play the Giants, I think that defensive line has the ability to take over and really make an impact. But the Giants' offense last week was weak. It looked like the same offense Daniel Jones was running. Couldn't really push the ball down the field, couldn't pass protect, couldn't run the ball. The offensive line has the same issues that it's had for a while. And like I said, with Dallas, I don't think they're going to be awful. I think they're pretty good on both sides of the ball. There will be some games where they're wishing they had another pass rusher, and there might be a game where they wish they invested better at running back, and they can't. They want to run the ball a little bit better, but I think Dallas should be able to take care of business against the Giants.
Okay, who is now that Micah Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers? Are the Packers your favorite in the NFC? The Lions have taken a step back. I'll be interested to see where you go here. Eagles, Packers, who is your favorite right now in the NFC?
I mean, I pride myself on not overreacting to small sample sizes, but it's tough to not overreact to what the Packers have looked like. They were already a playoff team, and they're playing like a Super Bowl caliber team. So, the thing I always like to remind people of the places that we did overreact. So what was happening after 2 weeks last year? The Saints looked like the best team in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
No exaggeration, right? That was true. But for real, the Packers look legit because Jordan Love's healthy. They're spreading the ball around to their variety of playmakers. Love's making a ton of good throws. Offensive line looks solid, and they dealt with 2 injuries. They had 2 guys out last night, and they still did a really nice job up front. And the defense looks unreal. They are playing fast. They are playing physical. Parsons is a problem, and they're moving him all over the formation. So he's causing problems. Like he was rushing against centers, guards, tackles, didn't matter. So, I think the Packers are right there. Through 2 weeks, I'd say, hey, they're up there at or near the top of the NFC. I'm waiting to see what happens with the Lions and, them bouncing back, but very impressed with what Green Bay has done for the first 2 weeks here.
All right, for our listeners, the Lions lost both coordinators to head coaching positions. Dan Campbell's done an amazing job, but we'll see, like Steve said, if they can kind of work it out in the next couple of weeks. Would you be surprised if the Chiefs start 0-2? They host the Eagles Sunday.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the Eagles are favored, and as we broke this game down on our podcast, there was a lot of positives in favor of the Eagles, and we end up leaning on the last game that we saw, which of course was the Super Bowl beatdown by the Eagles and Chiefs. That football doesn't really work like that, but the Eagles are strong in all the right places, and the Chiefs, I think their offense had about 3 quarters before they really got going the other day against the Chargers in Week 1. and the defense didn't look as good for Kansas City. So I just think Philadelphia, they have an opportunity to put the Chiefs in this 0-2 hole. I know it's in Kansas City, but the Eagles look very good, both lines of scrimmage. Again, Jalen Hurts playing really good, efficient football. A.J. Brown's going to have more than one catch this week, I expect, going up against a more man-heavy scheme from Kansas City. And the Eagles can just win in multiple ways. So, yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance the Chiefs do start 0-2 here.
How many weeks does it take you before you're like, this is what this team is? Because you mentioned, we like to have all the answers after the first week or second week. How do you look at it? You were with Pro Football Focus forever. Now y'all are doing your own thing, but you've worked with NFL teams, college teams. How many weeks does it take you before you're like, all right, this team is X?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 5 or 6 weeks, but even then, the Rams started 1-4 last year. 2 years ago, the Broncos, remember they gave up the 70 points to the Dolphins, and they looked like the worst defense of all time through 6 weeks. And then by week 7, they turned it around, and you look back and you said, oh, wow, Denver looked good. So I think every team has this different story about their season. Like I think the Bears have a chance as Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson get comfortable with each other in the new system. If the Bears finish strong in the final 8 or 9 games, I wouldn't be surprised. If it took them a little bit of time. And so it's a few weeks to really understand what a team is, but honestly, that story doesn't end. There's the Packers 2 years ago. They didn't turn it on until Thanksgiving.
True.
And then from Thanksgiving through the divisional round, they were one of the better teams in the NFL and made it to the final 8. They looked nothing like that in the first half of the season. So I think it's always fluid. And, there's a little bit of what did we think coming in? What have we seen so far? But my nature is to just not overreact, kind of let things play out and just describe what we've seen. And so, for the Packers so far, for instance, they've looked like a Super Bowl caliber team. Let's see if they can keep it up throughout the whole season.
All right, Steve Palazzolo just said it. He's got the Packers in the Super Bowl. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And he's got John Mateer as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next April. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Hey, last week, 41-40, Bills-Ravens, 22 points in the fourth quarter. Had to be, it's one of the wildest games you've ever watched, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was incredible. I don't have great answers for it. I don't understand it.
That's good. That's what's awesome about sports.
Good analysis. The Ravens, so I know they have all these stats out there about how many leads the Ravens have lost and the number of times they've been up 10 points in the fourth quarter and lost them. And part of that is they're up 10 points in the fourth quarter more than anyone else. But they also blow those leads more than other good teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles. And so it's the part that doesn't make sense is the Ravens should honestly be one of the best teams in history with a lead because of their run game, because of having Lamar Jackson. And look, Derrick Henry elevates that run game, of course.
No doubt.
But even without Lamar Jackson, they've always had a guy averaging 5.5 yards per carry, sometimes 6. And so you have Derrick Henry back there. You have Lamar Jackson. They were averaging 10 yards per play. Lamar was averaging 11 yards per pass, 11 yards per run, and Derrick Henry was at 11 yards per run. And then they go 3 and out 3 straight times, including a fumble. Well, one of them was 2 and out because it was a fumble. And so there's no great explanation for why can't the Ravens, who are unstoppable for 90% of the game, why can't they finish things off? And if they do something like that in the playoffs against Kansas City or Buffalo or whoever, could you imagine? They've already dealt with their own level of heartbreak in the playoffs with Lamar. And could you imagine if they did that in the playoffs? But credit the Bills. They went in there, made the plays, forced a fumble from Derrick Henry, and Josh Allen. He's special, of course, and he's his aggressiveness getting the ball down the field. And it was just a wild game. It was one of those. I almost wish it wasn't in week 1 of the NFL season. I kind of wish it was closer to the end or just in the playoffs. But it was a great way to kick off the season and a wild finish for the Bills.
Do you think the Saints will go 0-17?
No. They looked competitive. They were competitive last week. I don't know that they're going to get smoked every week, right? They're certainly lacking in talent in some key areas.
Okay.
Defensive line, I think that concerns me. O-line can be hit or miss, and just the general quarterback situation. I thought Spencer Rattler was fine last week,
too.
but do you trust him week in, week out? Maybe he will develop and become a pretty reasonable player, and that could change their fortunes. But a lot of people have the Saints as the worst team in the league, but that doesn't mean that they're getting smoked every week, and they're clearly going 0-17. So, yeah, they'll win some games.
Do you have them winning this weekend over the 49ers?
I think I picked them as the underdogs, at least, with getting
3.5 points.
Yeah, 3.5 now. Yeah, because, the Niners are so injured, and you have Mac Jones coming in. Mac Jones hasn't looked good since his rookie season, pretty much. Maybe Kyle Shanahan unlocks something there in Mac, but there's nobody to throw to. They're probably relying on Christian McCaffrey, who's already injury-prone, and he's the most healthy guy on the Niners. Left tackle Trent Williams is banged up, including all the pass catchers that they have. And I think the Niners defense, they played well last week against Seattle, but I had some questions about them coming into the year and their defensive line turnover. They got much younger up front outside of Nick Bosa. So, the Saints do have a chance to pull the upset this weekend.
Okay. Steve Palazzolo, he had the NFL Podcast of the Year. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. Brought to you by the Wolf and Shepherd Shoes at the Rogue Men's Store. The Los Angeles Rams coaching staff, Houston Texans coaching staff, Matt Leinart and Rob Gronkowski all wearing Wolf and Shepherd shoes this football season. You can find them at the Rogue Men's Store in Jackson. Steve Palazzolo on the Out of Bounds show. Speaking of overrated Alabama quarterbacks, you just mentioned one in Mac Jones. Almost all of them, if not all of them, are overrated going from college to the NFL. Where are you right now with Tua Tagovailoa? And, what is he? Is he average, pretty good, good? Where's this going? Frame it up for me, Steve P.
If you asked me a week ago, I'd say he's an above-average quarterback who is lacking when he's trying to go up against the above-average quarterbacks, against the best in the league. And then last week was that was the worst performance I've seen from Tua since probably his rookie season. And the whole offense was terrible. They looked unprepared. They weren't handling pressures. They didn't know where the pressure was coming from. When Tua had open throws, he was missing them. He's overthrowing in the middle of the field. He finally made a couple nice throws down the stretch against, when they were down 20 or whatever it was. So I don't know, man, mid-tier type of quarterback for Tua, but I would still put him in the top half of the league because there are things he does well. The quick release, seeing it quickly, getting rid of the ball, protecting the offensive line. But we also haven't seen him do that without Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And so those are always the confounding factors, right? We've seen Patrick Mahomes' deep ball pretty much disappear. It was pretty good the year after Tyreek Hill left, but then the last 2 years disappeared because you don't have a legitimate deep threat, and that opens up so much. And that, Tua's had, one of the best receivers of his generation with Tyreek Hill. And as he gets older and regresses and maybe gets traded, that's going to be the challenge, I think, for Tua, is to be the guy that elevates everybody else around him. But again, when you've seen backups go in, they haven't been as good as Tua, so it's not always that simple. But he struggled last week, man. I thought he had some ball security and accuracy issues against the Colts.
All right, it doesn't look like Mike McDaniel's going to make it down in Miami. Head coach, he was under Shanahan for a while. He was hot for a second, and then I don't know if this thing's going to work out. Caleb Williams, quarterback in Chicago. Where are you with Caleb?
Yeah, still a little wait and see. There was definitely some special on Monday night. You see his speed and his ability to throw on the run and the velocity and all the tools that people love. It's just a matter of simple footwork, hitting the easy throws. Drake May had some of this for New England, just missing open, easy throws, and seeing things within the scheme for Ben Johnson. There were open throws that you need to hit. And so I think there's potential to be there. I don't think Williams, I don't think Caleb's as inaccurate as he looked on Monday night at times. So I think he'll get there at some point, but everybody's development curve is a little bit different. And I think Williams just has to figure out that combination of, I can make special plays, but I have to hit, the layups. I have to hit the easy stuff. And that's where I think Caleb Williams is lacking right now.
All right. Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals. Is he just pretty good? What do you have for me?
I think he's the top half of the league quarterback. I'll be interested to see. I thought him and Marvin Harrison Jr. had a really nice connection Sunday against the Saints. I would love to see them have another speed element on that offense. But I think Kyler struggles in the middle of the field. He does it, you're missing pieces of the offense, but he's a special runner that, can undo things when there's a pass rush that they can use in the design game. He's a top half of the league guy. I don't know if I'd put him in the top 8. At one point, it looked like Kyler would be a top 8 type of quarterback, but I think he's somewhere between, 9 and 14. And that's a guy that you can win with, and just has to, be a little bit more consistent week in, week out. Because Kyler's high-end games are special. He just he has some mediocre games in there too. Just got to figure out that consistency piece.
I've only got a minute or so. Would you take Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray?
Probably Baker. The way he's trending, and he just got away with some stuff last week. He threw 4 passes right to the Falcons. They dropped all of them. I just think Baker's his high end is great.
Okay,
and he has a chance. He's that guy that can kind of like, get pissed off and take over a game. So I kind of like where Baker Mayfield's trending, and he's done it with multiple offensive coordinators now for the last few years. Okay.
Interesting. What else do we want to do here? On the way out, we've got a few. We got the double header on Monday. Yeah. All right. Who would you take? No, you take Herbert. Okay. Yeah. You have do you have Herbert in your top 5, 6, 7? Where would he land, Steve P?
I think there's a big debate for who QB5 is. Could be Jaden Daniels, could be Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, Matthew Stafford. The executives love Stafford. I think Herbert has a chance to be that guy. He looks awesome week 1. He's healthy. So I'd keep an eye on Herbert this year.
He's got a hell of a coach now. Hey, Steve P., have a great weekend. I hope you crush the Skyline chili. And I hope the kiddos are doing good, my man.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it. Enjoy the football.
See you, dude. Steve Palazzolo, Check the Mic, his show, had the NFL Podcast of the Year. He joined us on the Out of Bounds show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the great state of Mississippi. We would love for you to go to YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. Would love for you to hit the subscribe button. And the show is brought to you by the Dirty Bird Wrap at B3, Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, Madison, Dogwood, Flowwood, Brandon.